to call this meeting to order. This is the City of Southfield regular meeting of the Planning Commission, April 30th, 2025. We all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bernuti,
Present.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye,
Present.
Commissioner Gruber,
Present.
Commissioner Griffiths,
Here.
Commissioner Willis,
Here.
Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Stevens-Gunn.
Here.
Full quorum today.
Thank you. Do we have any comments on the agenda? If not, looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
To the chair, motion to approve the April 30th agenda as provided.
Second.
All right, favorable motion on the agenda by Commissioner Martin, supported by Dr. Stevens-Gunn. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Agenda proceeds. Do we have announcements and communications tonight?
None at this time, Mr. Chairman.
First, property on the agenda, there's two projects here, 27050 Lasser Road, special use and site plan review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you noted, this is a special land use and site plan approval for the rebuild of the gas station at 27050 Lasser Road, corner 11 Mile and Lasser. They are demolishing it completely and doing a complete rebuild. So they also will be adding, this is a gas and service station, so there's auto repair, there will be alcohol sales, which is a special part of the special land use, and the carry-out restaurant, which is also a special land use. So gas stations are a special land use, and those other two items require special land use, so that's why it's special land use across the board there. As noted, the current zoning is B3, surrounded by neighborhood shopping zoning. That is the correct zoning for this use in our code, and it is consistent with the future land use plan for local mixed use. Aerial photo just showing the location. You can see the gas station there, the site on the northeast corner. There's a shopping center, strip center to the east there, and then just to the north is a vacant bank, also owned by the owner of this property. We just include this for reference when anyone asks for the alcohol sales. It just shows all the other alcohol sales in the area, like within a mile radius, more or less. Shows a 1,000-foot radius, but also shows you out about a mile. So you can see there's a few in that area. You got a Family Dollar store, you'll have the proposed sales. Across the street at the CVS, the Majestic Market is down the street a little ways, it's Dollar General, and then you got Spitzer's Hebrew Book and Gift Center also has a license. So there's a fair number of them right in that area, not all of them dealing in exactly the same products or having the same hours, but this is just one of those things that council like to see when these came up in the past, and we just added as a standard slide for reference. This is, once again, another one, the standard one. Just shows the licenses across the city. The blue triangles are the beer and wine sales, and the green circles are the liquor sales. So it just kind of shows, they're generally distributed near major intersections or along major roads, not surprising. This is existing conditions. As you can see, the photo on the top is just the way the station looks now. It's an angle to the corner, got the canopy out front, got just a curb between it and the sidewalk. You can see the existing site plan survey in the bottom right. Let's see if I can get this done. Here we go. This is the proposed site plan, landscape plan. Building's getting demolished. It's being kind of pushed up into the top corner there, leaving just enough room, 6 feet, to get access to the rear door for deliveries on the east side. They actually narrowed that from 8 to 6 so they could actually expand the green belt on the front a little bit, tighten things up. So that green belt, right now, as I noted when we saw the photo, it's just got a 6-inch curb there. There's no green belt. Now it's going to have a green belt. It's going to have a decorative pier and panel fence system, brick piers and fence panels, and landscaping, both along Lasser, along Lasser and along 11 Mile. So that's actually quite an improvement in terms of getting that separation from the pedestrians from the drive aisles and these. Also, they're eliminating the curb cut closer to the intersection along Lasser. So now there's just the 2 curb cuts. Previously there were 3. They're opening an opening to the property to the north, which gives access to those curb cuts further to the north on Lasser. So if someone wants to make a left, they could go up there and make a left further from the light, or they could go up there and make a right and not have to deal with the traffic near the intersection. So those are all improvements on the property, same number of pumps, and they've got the dumpster closure out in the front there, a couple of EV charging spaces. This is just showing the highlighted is where they're making up their parking requirement by granting themselves a parking easement on the neighboring former bank property they own, which has excess parking. We ran a calculation on that. So those are the spaces they're going to be basically sharing with the other property by easement. Also, they're extending the landscape plan onto the bank property. If you notice, it's showing that decorative brick pier and fence panel system and landscaping extending down in front of the bank and not just in front of the gas station. That was one of the planner Crowd asked that they'd consider doing that, and they did add it to the plan. So it's an improvement not only on this property, but they're actually going to do a frontage improvement along the bank property as well. So that's nice. Now, when this first came before you and we recommended denial and you denied the site plan, there were 6 waivers required. They did eliminate 2 of those waivers. The distance, one was the distance of the, from the intersection and from the neighboring property for the curb cuts. The other one was for parking. By using that parking easement, they eliminated the requirement for the waiver. They shrank 3 of the remaining waivers by reconfiguring the site a little bit. And the only one that got a little bigger was that setback in the rear, but like went from 8 to 6, but they did that to actually reduce the other waivers. Because it is a tight site. And if that property was addressed on 11 Mile and it was a B3, like regular B3 property, it wouldn't even require a side setback. It could be 0. The building could have been right on the property line. But because it's a gas station, this other requirement kind of came into effect. But at this point, the rear area setback is now functional. They got enough room to do maintenance back there on the back of the building, and they have enough room to get access to that rear service door for deliveries. This is just the floor plan showing the repair bays on the right. And then you've got the C-store in the middle, convenience store, and then on the left is their carry-out restaurant use. They do have a little mezzanine area for storage and office, little stairs in the top left there. And they do have restrooms as well, near the restaurant end. Elevations of the new building, front and rear. And then there's the north elevation, the south elevation with the overhead doors for the repair bays. And you have a rendering of what it's going to be looking like. Nice modern architecture, similar to a lot of the mid-century modern style you see in Southfield in some ways. If the petitioner's present, if they'd come forward.
Please state your name and address for the record, and anything else you'd like to add about the project.
Haitham Hanawa, 28124 Orchard Lake Road, Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Or Gappy 27050 Lasser, Southfield.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to state about the project?
No, I think it's gonna, with Mr. Crode's recommendation, extending the landscaping to the north, I think is gonna tie the 2 properties together and enhance the whole entire corner right there. And I was actually very proud of that recommendation because I think by us modifying it is gonna probably bring more attention to the building that's vacant right now.
Okay. Well, this is a public hearing. I'm going to ask you to step back for a second. We're going to open up the public hearing at this time. If any members of the public would like to come forward and speak on this item, please do so. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Just have to do it. Please come back to the podium for now. Now we're going to open up the discussion of the Planning Commission, so if they have any questions for you. Dr. Stevens-Gunn, do you want to kick us off?
Well, good evening. And again, thank you so very much for your willingness to invest in the city of Southfield and to redo that facility on that corner. I think it's going to be a beautiful facility. I do plan on using it, especially the auto service piece of it. What is your timeline on it? How long do you think it is going to take once you break ground? It's going to be about a 6 to 8 month project. 6 to 8 months. Because of the demolition and removing the canopies and the dispensers, 6 to 8 months.
Okay, okay.
Well, thank you, sir, again, very much for your investment in our city.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
At the present time, I don't have any questions. I do suggest you let the surrounding neighborhoods know that you'll be closing, but you're rebuilding so that they aren't struck in panic when they see it closes. There are only 2 gas stations that provide vehicle service in Southfield, and you are the one, so thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Willis?
Thank you. I need to say I appreciate the fence paneling that you're going to have. I had a great concern about how cars would look for people in the neighborhood, but there's a small fence across the street at the CVS. Will your design be anything like that one, kind of a continuity, or?
We do actually provide an elevation view of the fence.
I think it's,
It's on the landscape plan, but
yeah, I don't know if I
it got
the
cropped out.
detail.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have the detail on.
Okay,
the
I didn't,
slide.
We will take a look at it. I mean, we wanted it to be more modern. You know, the CVS was probably built 20 years ago. We wanted to do something that's, you know, going to identify our building, our property. So, but we'll try to make it as, you know, as close as possible.
okay. I thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look on sheet SP1 in your packet, there's the detail of the actual fence. It's
Okay.
on the bottom right corner.
Commissioner Gerber?
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming back 3 times. And also, I live in the neighborhood, and I've always admired how nicely you keep up the landscaping that you have now. So I think this is only going to enhance that corner, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. So thank you.
It's also on the landscape plan, LP1. You can, it's details on both.
I see it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gill? Commissioner Bernutti?
Yes, thank you. I would like to also congratulate you on what your intent to do this corner, because it's much needed. And I also appreciate how the inside of the store, there's so many varieties of things that people can choose from, and I'm just looking forward to it. And thank you for your time and staying in Southfield.
Thank you.
I think it's a nice-looking project. I think you're smart to keep the auto repair, as everyone has said. At first, I kind of seemed like a lot of building for this site, but really, when you look at how you reorganized everything, I think the best thing you're doing is connecting with this northern property and allowing the cross flow, cross-access easement. I think that's going to be smarter for the long run. So that kind of offsets what appears to be a rather large building for the site in my mind, because you're doing everything else right, the landscaping and the cross-access, and removing that extra driveway that was out by Losser closer to the intersection. You know, that's making the site a lot safer for cars. With that, Commission, any other questions? Planning Department, do we have a recommendation?
Yeah, before, I just want to make a couple comments. Don't underestimate your repair facility. So when you come to council, make sure you talk about that you're going to keep that repair facility, because to the commissioner's point, there's only a couple in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. And then I appreciate you adding the brick piers and the fence, and I would say this is nicer than what CVS has. So I wouldn't want them to match it, especially since CVS's paint is peeling.
Okay.
But to protect your new fence, you need to put bumper blocks in on those parking spaces immediately adjacent to 2 feet off. So if you could just revise your detail to show the bumper blocks, that'll protect that investment that you're putting in for the fence. But other than that, I'm happy with all the design elements, and as Mr. Payson had stated, we appreciate reducing the waivers wherever possible. So thanks for working with us on reducing those waivers.
Do we have a recommendation?
Chair,
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Bernutti, go ahead.
I'd like to make a recommendation.
Oh, sorry, we got listen to the planning department
I'm
recommendation. Sorry, I thought you had another,
So
if you
excited.
have another question or comment, but we'll come back to you.
Yeah, we do have a recommendation, favorable recommendation of the special land use for the gasoline service station, convenience store with alcohol sales and carryout rebuild. We do find that it is consistent with the special land use standards for this district, as noted in the written resolution. It is subject to a few conditions, one of which obviously is approval of the site plan that we're going to deal with next, approval by the zoning board of the 4 required variances, waivers, execution of the easement agreement for the parking that is in the packet, and then compliance with the police department's Crime Prevention Bureau recommendations for site security, which is a standard we'll include, and then continuous compliance with all applicable ordinances, codes, laws, statutes, and with work done under permits and inspections by the city. Another standard will be put into all these just to make sure everybody's clear on that. And then hours of operation, gas station, convenience store, 24 hours a day, carry-out restaurant, daily 10 to 9, auto service repair Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, closed on Saturday and Sunday. So those are all the conditions related to the special land use that we're recommending.
With that, we're looking for a recommendation on the special use portion only at this time, PSLU 25-0001.
Thank you. I would like to make a favorable recommendation and the approval of PSLU 25-0001.
Support.
Got a favorable recommendation by Commissioner Bernuti, supported by Commissioner Goodwin-Dye. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the special use passes. Next item for the same project is the site plan itself, PSP 25-0002.
And we do have we are recommending, and this is, once again, under the new ordinance.
Can I ask a question before we do that?
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Planner Crowell, with the waivers, can they proceed to city council before the waivers, or they have to have the waivers before they proceed to city council?
No, your recommendation and council's approval will be subject to the waivers.
Okay.
The way council has set it up in the past, they want to act on it prior to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay,
If, for whatever reason, the waivers are denied, then it would have to come back.
okay,
But your recommendation and the council's approval will be conditioned upon the waivers being
okay,
granted. The site plan is also subject to the special land use being approved.
okay, thank you.
Good,
So I
good
just want a
clarification. No, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, as noted, we are, because of the change in the ordinance last year, you have final authority on the site plan. You denied the previous version, they reapplied with the revisions. So this is approval of the revised plan, PSP 25-0002. As noted here, we believe that it meets all the key standards in the site plan review section that are relevant to this project. We list through 1 through 6. We also include a blanket number 7. We just, that the recommendation is based on the documents, facts, representations, stipulations submitted in the application and on the record at the hearing, just to make sure that it's always conditioned on what they told you they were going to do, right? And then the other conditions are subject to approval of the special land use by city council, subject to the approval of the variances by the zoning board of appeals, site and building to be developed consistent with the plan set that's before you tonight, execution of the parking easement, once again, because that solves one of their zoning issues, and then the implementation of any crime prevention recommendations by the police department, and then continuous compliance with all applicable codes, laws, statutes. Some of these conditions are boilerplate, but they're good to include just in case we ever end up in a dispute with someone.
Thank you. With that, we're looking for a motion on the site plan for this project.
The chair, I think we need to add the bumpers. Bumper blocks? Yeah,
Oh.
bumper blocks along the,
Okay, so we're looking for a recommendation, and you can add that condition.
yeah.
Yep, we will add as
add that-
G, addition bumper blocks on the bank property. Along the fence. Proposed fence on the bank parcel. Got it.
Okay, so we got a favorable motion. Do you want to finish or?
Oh, no, that was it.
Favorable motion by Commissioner Martin with the additional condition about adding bumper blocks.
I
We have
second it.
supported by Commissioner Bernuti. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, site plan is approved, subject to your next couple meetings and waivers. The
It'll be
site
in front
plan's
of city council on Monday.
Monday, okay, you'll be back for a study session this Monday.
Okay.
That'll be next
6:30.
door.
6 o'clock. I'll send you a reminder email as well, but,
Yeah, 6 o'clock. They start a little earlier.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And you guys are gonna be like first on the agenda, so make sure you're there in time.
Yeah, it's a short agenda, and you guys are right at the top.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Bye, good luck.
Thank you. Good luck.
Next item is at 25826 Southfield Road, special use, PSLU 25-0003.
All right, this is a existing gas station on the corner of Lincoln and Southfield. It was actually before you last year to get special land use and site plan approval to add alcohol sales. Subsequently, they decided they'd also like to have a carry-out restaurant in the facility, which is another special land use, so it's now back. The site plan that was approved in '24 is still good. Nothing needed to change for this to be added. So that site plan still holds. We didn't make them apply for a new one because that one covered updating all of the things that needed to be updated. It is in B3. The hours of operation proposed for the gas station convenience store daily 5 to midnight, carry out 10 to 9. Current zoning, B3, which is the correct zoning for gas station, and it is local mixed use, which is consistent. Site aerial, as you can see, one of the things they've done recently is restripe the parking lot, because this was before that. This aerial is from a couple of years back. But this is generally the state of the site prior to them doing the upgrades they did earlier, or did last year. Existing conditions, these are a little dated, but still gives you a general feel of what the building location and site and the canopies look like. This is the actual approved site plan that was approved in 2024, so this is the site plan that's in effect that they have to comply with now. And this is the revised floor plan showing the carryout restaurant on the, would be the north end of the building, the left. That was going to be additional C-store space, I believe, and they've converted that into like a kitchen for this carryout restaurant. And the elevations are the same as what were shown in 2024. They're not planning any elevation changes. And then if the petitioner would come forward,
Please state your name and address for the record.
Andrew Atisha, 25826 Southfield Road. Robert Kerma, 1632 Angela Road, Commerce Township.
Anything else you'd like to add about the project?
I can't wait to come to work and eat fresh food every day.
Through the chair, could you just talk about, you have an independent operator for the food? I think it's important, again, I think they were here last time, that hopefully they can come for the council, but don't underestimate, don't undersell yourself on that. We've been talking about how these small businesses become incubators and then they grow into their own space. And I don't want that to be overlooked. So if you could just talk a little bit about the proprietor and what they're going to sell, and then hopefully they're available to come to the council meeting either Monday or when they make their final action. Okay?
Gina, it's a family business. They currently operate out of the New Abbey Liquor Store right over there on 10 Mile in Southfield. They've been in business for about 5 years over there, and the current space they operate out of is around 250 square feet at that store. Very small space, but you know, they make a lot of food out of there. And they're popular in the area. I don't know if you ever heard of them, Lily Bell's food over there. And so, you know, my wife was pregnant. She was craving some lamb chops, and someone told me that they got good lamb chops over there. So I went over there and I said, "Wow, you guys are," and I just saw just a table full of, you know, carry out, and I said, "Wow, you guys are making this much food out of here." And I said, "Well, I got a gas station down the street. Maybe you want to do an express model, you know?" And they came over. We just talked, and you know, we liked each other a lot, and we decided to try to make something happen over there, and I'm excited for it. It seems they're excited for it, so you know, if we get all this approved there, you know, hopefully we get them cooking in the summer. You know, that's the plan.
Awesome. All right, this is a public hearing. I ask you to take a brief step back, open up the public hearing at this time. Take a look around the room, see no public present, close the public hearing. Thank you. Open up to the commission for comments. Again, Dr. Stevens-Gunn.
I'm very familiar with the catfish. A quick question for you. When are you planning to, if this is approved and goes through the process, when are you planning to, because you're going to have to put in cookers, what do you call it, burners and, you know,
Like a
cooking
hut,
stuff?
Kitchen,
Yeah, when are you planning to start the renovation, and how long do you think it'll take?
After everything gets approved, we submit it to building, Michigan Department of Health. As soon as I get all the approvals, we're starting right away. So hopefully by the end of August, I give them a turnkey kitchen to work out of.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
Sorry. Thank you, and good luck.
No, thank you.
And that was my question too, and thank you and good luck.
Thank you, thank you,
I don't have any other questions.
thank you.
Commissioner Burnett.
Thank you. I did go over to your station, and I saw the area. You mentioned that one of the areas that your food, the ladies that were here, that it was only 200 square feet. Well, inside your building, I saw it much, much larger than that. So thank you for doing that and staying in Southfield. We look forward to it.
Thank you, I look forward to it too.
And
Me
so does
too.
your wife.
Thanks, Planner Crowe, for reminding them to talk about the operator, because it seems like so many of these projects are speculative, and it's easier to paint a picture with reality, and it's more feasible in everyone's minds of that it's going to be a viable business sooner. So I think that was important. Thank you for that. Anything else, Commission? Do we have a recommendation from the planning, Commissioner Martin?
I was just gonna say, don't take free samples to the council.
but do have the proprietor come, because like their story,
Yeah.
like when they
Yeah.
tell it, it really is pretty compelling.
Oh, I
So
had a question.
it sells itself. Like if they're here talking about their business, it just helps.
Yeah, I'll try to get them here.
Yeah, if not Monday, maybe at the following meeting, but if one of those two meetings would be great.
Okay.
Commissioner Burnett, you
Yeah,
have a
my question, based on the previous petitioners, will you make sure that you have some type of notice out front that would indicate you now have this, and this, that you'll be having carry-out food?
Yeah, once everything kind of gets,
Yeah.
finalized and
It
approved.
would help, because that's a very busy area.
It is,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put something out there for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I,
Go ahead.
as a suggestion, where they are now, maybe work with that proprietor to share their new location? Because a lot of people may not know where, because they go there for that services right now.
Yeah.
And if you work with that proprietor in order to direct them to you, which is right down the street, that might be beneficial as well.
Thank you, we will.
Recommendation from the planning department?
Yeah, the special land use here, we are making a favorable recommendation for the special land use to add this carryout restaurant to the existing gas station convenience store with alcohol sales. It does meet we do believe it meets the key standards for special land use in this district. That's 1 through 6, and 7. And then we just have the usual, this recommendation is based on the materials before you and that have been presented, subject to city council's approval by, actually, that's a mistake on the, sorry, I gotta strike that line about the site plan, because the site plan was already previously approved. So A would be struck out of that recommended resolution, missed that one. It would just be subject to approval of the special, well, you're making a recommendation, so it doesn't need to be subject to that, because the council will approve the special land use, sorry. Continuous compliance with all applicable codes and ordinances, hours of operation, gas convenience store daily 9 to 12, midnight, and carry out daily 10 to 9. So just striking that recommended condition A, because that would not be relevant.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for a motion with the deletion of item A on the screen there.
To the chair, I recommend favorable recommendation, to accept the favorable recommendation for PSLU 25-0003, the special use for this location.
Support.
Got a favorable recommendation by Dr. Stevens-Gunn, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, thank you. Favorable recommendation.
And we're looking forward to it.
Good luck.
Thank
So
you.
that'll be
Enjoy
in
the-
front of council on Monday at 6 PM in the room next door, so much. I'll send you a reminder email as well, but
Thank
that's
you.
your next one.
Enjoy the evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good luck.
Next item, we have a PTZA 25-0001, zoning text. zoning
As we
text
discussed a few weeks back, this is a amendment to the OS district to kind of widen out the uses that are permitted in that district. The OS district is the office service district. Just kind of would allow some retail and limited restaurant uses in that predominantly office district. Just context, we got about 1,000 parcels in the city that are zoned commercial. They constitute about 2,500 acres of land. The OS district is the most common commercial parcel. It's about 400 of those parcels are OS zoned. Their average size is about 1 acre, so about 430 acres total. District's dominated by small office buildings, typically several decades old but well-built. Due to changes in demand for the amount, size, type, and location of office space, we've been struggling with some vacancy and underutilization in these buildings. And these vacancies and underutilizations create a problem in that you end up with illegal occupancies, poor site maintenance, and deferred building maintenance. That can turn into blight, it can turn into abandoned buildings, it can turn into a lot of problems for the surrounding properties, including the residential nearby. Abandoned buildings in poor condition are not good for anybody in the vicinity, and not good for the community generally, or the tax base, which pays for everything. Opportunity, I like to think of these buildings represent a latent opportunity to grow local small businesses. They are the right size, the rent structures are probably appropriate for a startup business. You're not gonna go into one of the large towers that we have here in the city center. And they can support, because they're well-built, they can potentially support a wider variety of entrepreneurship than they currently are. We did add personal services back in 2018 as an additional use allowed in this district, and that helped fill some of the space and certainly didn't really cause any problems. So just looking at the trends, it was time to kind of step up these, especially these, what they call like Class C, Class D office buildings. They just kind of need a level of investment, which is only going to come if an investor is seeing cash flow or potential profitability. So we look at these small businesses, more likely to be women and minority owned. Statistics on that are really solid. Create opportunity to build generation wealth within your community. Local businesses, for every dollar spent on a local business, it circulates 2 to 4 times in the local economy, more than you see with the larger businesses, corporates that send their money off to headquarters in Delaware, Texas, wherever. So it really is like a boost on every level for your local economy to grow those small businesses and to try to accommodate them. Other advantages, greater flexibility and potential tenancy will make the acquisition and improvement of these buildings more attractive and feasible for investors. Buildings that are fully occupied and cash flow positive are typically better maintained, generate higher property taxes, it helps support services and facilities in the community. And personal services were added in 2021, as I mentioned, and we really haven't seen any issues with that, and it's been a few years now. It has allowed some of those spaces to be filled, but there's a lot of space. As I noted, 400 of these parcels, not all of which are vacant, but there's just a lot of them to absorb. So there's a few, this is getting into the actual code amendment. This is out of the intent section. We had to delete the section in red because that section clearly wouldn't allow you to do anything really other than office. So to widen out the use, we just had to take out that language that made it exclusively office to make sure we could have retail and other activities like that because of the specific language. Now here's the verbiage going into the permitted use section for retail. It's the same standard language we use for retail in most of the other commercial districts, except for we added 2 conditions. Max floor area, 2,000 square feet. We're looking for small retail, more specialty boutique retail, small businesses. We're not wanting somebody to try to wedge in a dollar store or any of these larger scale retail uses into these districts. They tend to be smaller, shallower properties. They really can't accommodate those bigger uses anyway. And then permitted hours of operation, this we modified after the last meeting, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to kind of keep them aligned with office hours. And then if they want later hours, they can go to council as a special land use. So it says it's not impossible to get later hours, but it gets an additional level of scrutiny if you want to be open past 7. At least, when you open the door, you kind of want to open it a little at a time because it's hard to close it once you open it all the way. So this allows us to crack that door open, try this out. If we find out that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., maybe people are getting granted the special land use consistently, it's not a problem. We could always come back and amend it later and expand those. But as an incremental improvement, this is a lower risk of choice. And then for the restaurants, we decided to put those in the special land use category. As was discussed here, they've got a little bit of different operating issues. So we wanted a higher level of scrutiny on these. Once again, they're going to be limited. And this is just kind of regular restaurants and carry out. No drive-throughs, no drive-ins, no 24 hours, no bars. Just like your small bistro kind of deli restaurants and your carry-outs. Max square footage, 2,000 square feet. Could be a little pizzeria, pizza shop. Permitted hours of operation, 7 to 7, or as may be approved as a specific condition of special use approval by the council. So the default is 7 to 7, but since it's a special land use already, if they request more hours and council and the planning commission deem it appropriate, it can be approved. And then the exterior storage of waste grease, prohibited. It's got to be inside of some kind of internal containment system that meets the code. It's just that external waste grease is just, it's disgusting, it's messy, it's difficult to manage. It is the source of a lot of code enforcement cases and conflicts between uses. Just having that contained in an internal system that can be pumped out directly into a truck by a recycler for that oil is the easiest way to deal with it. And I did get this reviewed by the building official. He was okay with this language because it basically just said, yeah, you'll have an internal system. And the code enforcement, we're more than happy to see there not be external waste storage because it's one of the things they have a lot of complaints about that they deal with. So then a couple of other small items. For the pharmacies that are in there, the freestanding pharmacies, they're listed as a special land use now, but we're going to allow the ones under 2,000 square feet, which would be your local independent operators, as a permitted use under the rules that we're talking about adopting. This would allow the ones over 2,000 square feet to still be a special land use. So they're still available if you want to go over 2,000 square feet, but now you're a special land use. You got to show us you fit. And then for 5.105, the no interior display had to be struck because obviously if you're going to have retail and you've got windows, you may want to be showing product. I mean, that's pretty normal for retail, for the product to be visible through the windows. So it was one of those situations of, if we're going to allow retail, then this no longer makes sense. And I was just trying to make sure we didn't paint ourselves in a corner somewhere and end up with really weird zoning variances for no reason. And as I noted, this is required public hearing, but the purpose really is just to try to make our OS district and our zoning a little more flexible to evolve and meet modern demands, and hopefully get these properties invested in and activated in a way that's beneficial to the community as a whole and the property owners and the businesses.
All right. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open up the public hearing for PTZA 25-0001 at this time. Seeing no public present, close the public hearing. Dr. Stevens-Gunn.
Planner Crowe, I got a question for you. Okay, can we go back to item K?
Okay, there we go.
Okay. The excludes any restaurants with a drive-through, drive-in, restaurants with a bar or lounge. Let's talk about the bar and lounge. Remember the Skyline Club?
Right,
It was a bar and a lounge.
right.
Would you consider a small little place for us to get together and have a cocktail on occasion?
Well, this is specifically OS, office service, and there are plenty of places where bars and restaurants are allowed. What we were trying to do is find a balance of these older, smaller office buildings. Many of them are immediately adjacent to residential. And as Mr. Payson has indicated, we're trying to open this up for redevelopment, but we also want to be sensitive of unintended consequences and nuisances to adjacent residents. When you buy a property next to an office complex, you anticipate that they're going to be there Monday through Friday, 7 to 6 or whatever, maybe occasionally on the weekends. And that's why we altered the hours of operation back to more similar to what an office is. And then if someone wants to operate a little bit later, that's a special land use and we're giving public notice. So I think we want to take small steps first and see how this goes. A coffee shop, I visited a number of coffee shops that are in older houses that have some charm, a sandwich shop, a pizza place. These are smaller retail. We don't want drive-through, we don't want fast food, we don't want bars and restaurants, at least at the beginning, just because of where they're located. They typically have shorter depth along our mile roads. So for all those reasons, that's why we've excluded those types of uses to start.
To start,
Yep.
okay.
I would say another thing from a political reality standpoint, we didn't want to ruin our chances of getting this by throwing bars and lounges immediately into the mix. I'd almost like to make those like a future separate amendment, so we're just talking about that use.
Okay.
We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay.
You don't put it in the ground starting.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Martin?
No comment.
No questions.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of recently vacated pharmacies, large pharmacies on corners that would be in a zoning that might allow a bar, so
Yeah.
maybe that, and a lot of banks that are also in the intense zonings that would be good for,
Yeah, most of those are going to be in B3s or B2s probably.
Bar restaurants.
A bar could go in.
there's plenty of other places you can build a bar.
Besides, you're going to have the Barkside Dog Bar pretty soon, so why would you go anywhere else?
I was thinking maybe that bank next to the gas station would be a good bar. And they have that decorative wall.
I heard it's for lease.
Right?
Yeah,
And it's in the neighborhood.
there you go.
I have no questions. I have no questions.
Planner Crowd.
Yeah, I think Tom's done a great job here. Tom, the only other thing is, could you go to that last section, reserved, required conditions? As I was thinking about this, and I totally agree, if it's retail, you want to have display space. But maybe we can limit that to display windows that are adjacent to rights-of-way, because I could see possibility of, you've got residential behind an office complex. We certainly don't want people advertising lights and everything on the rear of the property. So I think the intent's good. Maybe we just redefine it by display windows adjacent to road rights-of-way only to start.
Facing road right away.
Facing, something like that. I think about the dollhouse down the street too, you know. That's visible from the road and the parking lot, but there was a house behind it at one time, and I'm just, again, want to take a slow step forward on this. But I think he's done a great job with covering all the bases here.
Absolutely. With that, do you have a recommendation also on this
Yeah.
item?
There we go. Yep. Planning Department recommends favorable recommendation of PTZA 25-0001, based on the fact that it is consistent with the master plan. And I did actually add a section in here that listed all the master plan stuff it was consistent with. Because I reminded myself, I'm like, oh yeah, when you're doing a zoning amendment, you should always reference the part of the master plan that support it. So I listed a bunch of those in there. That was an addition from the last time. And that the proposed amendment will be orderly and help ensure health, safety, and welfare of the community. And if we want to add with the provision, when a motion is offered, that we modify the display requirement to be only permitted facing right away, I can make that modification before it goes to council.
So, thank you. With that, we're looking for a motion on PTZA 25-0001 with the modification mentioned.
Through the chair, I move for a favorable recommendation of PTZ's A25-0001 with the modification as suggested.
Second.
Got a favorable motion by Commissioner Willis, supported by Commissioner Bernucci. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next, we have minutes from March 5th, March 19th, and March 26th.
We do the general public comment section, but there's nobody here. Oh, minutes are first, sorry, I got them wrong, I got the slides in the wrong order apparently. I didn't put a slide in for the minutes, but yeah, we have 3 sets of minutes available from March. One is a study meeting, the other 2 are actually transcripts, and we are looking for approval of those at this time.
Any comments on the minutes? If not, looking for a motion to approve.
Through the chair, I motion that we accept the minutes from March 5th, 2025, March 19th, 2025, and March 26th, 2025.
Support.
We got a favorable recommendation on the minutes by Dr. Stevens-Gunn, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes passed. This is a public comment portion of the meeting. To open up the public comment section at this time. See no members of the public.
Wait, there's one coming.
Is there?
No, he's
I was like, you got an angle I don't have. Still no public present. Closed.
You said that with such a
I
straight
did.
face, Alex.
I
That was
believe you.
perfect.
Thank you. I was really hoping someone was going to come in with something really good. Council items update.
Yeah, we had council on Monday, and I'll let Terry go into more detail, but I can just, the oil change at 24412 Southfield was, I believe, unanimously approved.
Yay.
Yeah,
So
good.
that finally got through the process. Now they got to go to the zoning board of appeals for those couple of waivers they need, but that's in process. I got them applying for that. So hopefully they'll be moving forward, have all their approvals in hand in June. I believe the next ZBA is in June, and then be able to move on to permitting and with their project. 21375 Telegraph, that's that old Tesla ODD that didn't work out. That rezoning back to I-1 was approved. It'll be enacted and then become effective by the end of May. So it's like they approve it, they introduce it, then it has to be enacted, then it has to be published. So there's kind of a lag even after the approval before it becomes effective. The 27600 Northwestern Highway conditional rezoning behind the Glassman property, that also was passed, and will in the same case need to be enacted and published, or enacted and then published. But although it should be effective, there's some conditions on that one related to the consent judgment. We can't really actually make it effective until the court approves the modification to the consent judgment. My understanding is legal filings are in place, they're just waiting for the court to act on it. All the parties involved have signed off, but you know, the wheels of justice grind slowly at the courts, so it'll get there. But our part's more or less done. We're just waiting for the courts to get onto their part. And then we were approved. We're going to apply for a planning grant, a planning assistance grant through SEMCOG. We have it's a $45,000 grant. We think we have a good case because SEMCOG is doing a lot of stuff with pedestrian improvements and multimodal transportation. We want to go after a planning grant to update our 2012 non-motorized pathway and public transit plan and our 2019 bus stop improvement survey and plan. So we were approved to apply for that grant. Alex is going to be taking the lead on that. It needs to be in by, I believe, the 23rd, I think, of May. So we got a few weeks to get it done. The application form's not overly complex. The trickiest part is they always want like some kind of like proposed budget. And the point is like, okay, well, we're just planning on like bidding this out and getting a consultant to come in and help us out because we're busy. But we're hopeful. I think we've got a good proposal. Like, we're doing a lot of, we've implemented a lot of stuff from our plans. We need to update those plans for what we're going to do next. You know, we built a lot of that pathway still. Terry's been involved. We've improved a lot of those bus stops. The real question is kind of get our information up to date, and then what's our priorities for the next 5 to 10 years. And then that can roll in as an amendment to the master plan, which is what we would generally do. We would adopt that plan, and then we would roll it in as an amendment to the master plan, which also meets our state need of updating our master plan periodically. So serves a lot of good functions. I think it's a good fit from what they say in the letting for the grant. I don't know if Terry wanted to talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I got a couple of things to add. Even prior to this, at the previous Planning Commission meeting, the council approved the CIP plan, and they're very complimentary, and I wanted to shout out to Mr. Martin, who came to the meeting, sat through the meeting to support us. So thank you for doing that. But Ms. Banks thought it was the best presentation to date, and we got a number of kudos for that. Southfield oil change, we rearranged the agenda anticipating a big crowd. We moved it up front, and thankfully, only the security representative of the church spoke. The key to that success was that the applicant finally met with the church in private on their own to resolve whatever issues that they were concerned with. Mr. Pace and I have suspicion that the church had some issues with the previous property owner. And once they found out that it was a different property owner, all of their concerns seemed to have gone away. So we were glad that that was resolved. The church thought we could have done a better job notifying them on the change of ownership, which is really out of our control. And they had plenty of opportunity to speak, both officially and unofficially, throughout the process. So I thought that was a little bit unreasonable on their part. The applicant kind of fell on the sword and apologized, even though I don't think he needed to apologize. The bottom line is they had their best chance of getting approved, and they worked with the church to resolve those issues. And the council was complimentary, I think because the room wasn't packed with people complaining. So it worked out. Now, standard, as you know, whenever we anticipate any controversy, we always tell the developer or applicant, go meet with the neighborhood group. It's usually misinformation, the fear of the unknown. Just let them know what you're doing, see if you can resolve the issues. Commission, I just had this conversation with another homeowner group that are concerned about development this morning. All of you guys live in the community. You have the best interest in the community. You're here to protect the community, and you make your recommendations based on reasonable concerns. And that's what I stated, is if it's a reasonable concern, we'll try to address it. But when it's unreasonable or unfounded, it's hard to address those issues. So at the end of the day, it took a while to get to that point, but we were thankful that they met, and we were thankful that things went smoothly. And on all these other items really passed without much fanfare. Mr. Cruz asked a question about conditional rezoning, and we explained that, how that works, and why that's a tool that's available. But
And one of the interesting things was he was curious why the Northwestern Highway was a conditional, because it wasn't limiting uses. In this case, the condition was used to tie the rezoning to the repeal of the consent judgment. Because it was tricky, like we couldn't really rezone the property officially while the consent judgment was still in place. So the way that actually the applicant's attorney suggested, well, why don't we make it a conditional rezoning so the rezoning doesn't go into effect unless the consent judgment is repealed. And I went, oh yeah, that's another good use of that tool. And we looked at the law and the ordinance, and it's not prohibited. It's really a flexible tool. Like I know we've done usually use restrictions, but if you remember that building that was going to be built on Lasser south of the high school, their condition was they actually dedicated the rear portion of the property as a conservation easement, which did restrict the uses, but not through changing the use list, just by putting a conservation easement on it. So it's a tool that does have some flexibility built into it. And that was the part I think a lot of people, what we typically see is them just eliminating uses off the list. And that is the most common use. But there are other things it can be used for. And I give credit to the applicant's attorney that time for like, do you guys allow conditional rezonings? Maybe we could do it this way. And Dawn looked at it, our attorney, and said, yeah, there's no reason why it couldn't be used that way.
And remember, the state law does allow conditional zonings, but it's a one-way. We can't negotiate.
Yep.
So the applicant can propose, we can either accept or deny it.
Yep.
But sometimes it makes sense to have the conditional zoning, especially when we had consent judgments and agreements on some parcels.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I have two questions.
Go ahead, Dr. Stevens, go.
Question number one, Planner Crow, when is our joint meeting?
We're working on a June date. We're starting multiple budget hearing meetings starting next week, so we want to get through that. But we have reached out to the council president, and we're working on a June date
Okay.
to be determined.
Question number 2, how's the lighting project coming?
Which lighting project?
The lighting project at Greenfield and 8 Mile.
I just looked today, there's about $22,000 raised out of the 50,000, and we have till like May 23rd. So we're about halfway there. And we'll keep monitoring that. Mayor's, pushing. So I think he has a few potential donors in reserve if needed to get us over the hump. We're meeting Friday, actually, to talk about the MDOT permit process. And then we're also working on the bidding package. And the mayor's been talking to DTE about possibly having them install the lighting. So there's some things that we're still working on. I have a couple more updates unless you have any more questions.
No, I'm good.
I don't know if you've been by Beach and 9 Mile recently, but they did start the pathway. It's been graded and they've got the stone down, so that project's moving very quickly. And then we've been working with the DDA on reviewing their strategic plan. We did a comprehensive review of their preliminary draft. I just got the revised draft this week. Once it's been adopted by the DDA, it will be brought to the Planning Commission and taken through the public hearing process to be adopted as a sub-area plan to the master plan.
Okay.
So that'll be coming down the pipe. And then finally, I'm asked, once the meeting is officially closed, if you will indulge me for 2 minutes, I have a little game exercise and a little token prize from the Denver conference for the winner. So if you can just stick around for 2 or 3 minutes, I'd like to try this out.
Okay.
I do have a comment. One is Lasser Park. If you ever drive by there, they're making great progress, putting the dog park and the walking trail together.
Yeah, I think their target is July 1st, but they're hopeful it'll be completed before then.
Okay. And I don't know if this one is selfish, but I drove by 12 Mile Northwestern and looked at the number of projects we were involved in. We did a strip mall that is occupied, a gas station that's nearly complete, the one that's on the corner of Northwestern and 12 Mile, they're in construction. I think we did the Savvy Slider right across the street from that. So all of it seems to be.
car wash.
Right, and all of it seems to be coming together, so.
Yeah, plus Road Commission of Oakland County is redoing 12 Mile between Telegraph and
Right.
Northwestern. And we had to go out there because of some of the bus stop improvements that we've done. And I don't know if you noticed, but SMART has put up solar-powered digital schedules that get updated by the minute on when the bus is coming.
Okay.
And they've invested those in the places we've invested our bench and trash receptacle. So to your point, when I was out there as well, and then Mr. Payson and I were doing some inspections today, and I was saying how incrementally the work that we've done over these many years, 15 for me, we're really starting to, see a significant difference in the upgrading of our street presence and so forth. So congratulations to all of you, and that's why we do what we do, all right? And each of these projects, even the ones we talked about today, are significant improvements over what's been around for 50 or 60 years. So we keep fighting the good fight, and we got these large buildings that need to be occupied, but I started thinking about all the housing projects recently, with the veterans, the Towers to Tunnel, Wellspring. Tom and I have been recently working on finalizing the RUDD agreement, the many other housing projects that we have coming along, like new foster care.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's been a missing component, and I'm, really proud of all the pathway work and that we continue to do. And we're also out this week on 2 new art sculpture installations, working through those issues, and a lot of good things happening.
Do you know anything going on with the obelisk on 11 Mile Road?
Do I know when?
Any
Yeah, that was knocked out.
update on the obelisk?
As a matter of fact, they're going to be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow,
Oh,
weather permitting.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't hear from him for anything, and all of a sudden this buzz was going around today, and I reached out to the artist, and he's like, yep, tomorrow morning.
All right.
Wow, that's
Congratulations,
wonderful.
yes.
Yeah, that was a good news.
Yeah.
The other thing is we had talked about, well, we approved the building going on Los just south of 10 Mile. They've got the land cleared, they've got the steel there. They're working on that. There was a
Yeah, yep,
5-segment
Yep.
building going up. And
yep, saw that.
lots of things that have gone by us
Right,
are in development or
right.
being
Already
built.
operating.
And it's nice to see and know that you worked on this, or you approved this.
Yeah, you know, and then it's disappointing when you have like the Plum Hollow Market fire, you know, because they were in with some beautiful plans to update that, and then there's other projects we drive by for months, don't see anything, and then one day you go by and steel's
Yeah.
going up.
Yeah.
Oh, and you probably heard about across the street, the Middle Point got
Right,
their
it was approved, yeah.
transformational brownfield, another $110 million, and Mr. Pace and I were working with their transportation expert on fine-tuning the parking structure, but that one, it's very possible they'll be breaking ground, at least pushing dirt by the end of this year, and maybe that first phase will start going up next year. They still got some work to do, but that was a huge hurdle, and very, you know, we're very fortunate because the state doesn't give out transformational brownfields very often. So that was a significant win, and that's been a 15-year project because those buildings were tore down the summer I started in
Yeah, they were full.
2010.
I watched them and
Yeah.
told them.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll start seeing some good things across the street as well.
So are the owners of Plum Hollow going to rebuild? Or have they
We,
decided yet?
again, it's too early to know officially because a lot of it has to do with insurance.
Okay.
So we are hopeful, but I haven't heard one way or another.
And also, you mentioned about the veterans. I, a couple of weeks ago, went in that building. It's beautiful. Indoor pool, I mean, it's just, you know, just beautiful.
And, you know, the Specs Howard that you'll be seeing
Yep.
next week, that's another, you know, good project. That building's been vacant for quite some time, and they'll be doing some significant outside improvements as well.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, let's adjourn this meeting.
Wait, I got one more item
Oh,
for you.
okay, go ahead.
In terms of the meetings next month, we have a study meeting on the 5th, we have a long-range study for the 14th, and a regular on the 28th. We only have the 2 site plans and 1 small zoning amendment, so I'm recommending cancellation of the meeting on the 14th. We just don't need that 3rd meeting with that agenda.
Have May 5th and May 7th on the.
Oh, geez. Yep, I got
It's
it
the
wrong on the
7th.
slide. It's right on the schedule, but it's wrong on the slide.
It's the 7th.
Okay,
The 7th is correct.
So,
I won't be here.
But yeah, the 14th is the meeting that would be the following week, the long-range study, and that one, with only 2 site plans and 1 small zoning amendment, we don't really need a 3rd meeting. to
Through the
deal with
chair?
issue.
I recommend that we accept the recommendation to cancel
Cancel
the long-range meeting. I second it.
all right. Yeah, we got a favorable recommendation to cancel. Do we have to vote on that? Yeah. Okay. By Dr. Stevens, Gunn, supported by Commissioner Bernucci. All in favor of canceling the May 14th meeting?
Aye.
No opposition.
None.
Opposed?
Oh, you better.
You want some extra things to do? I'll give you some of my to-do list. No. All right, meeting adjourned.